What's going on, people? Welcome to the Let Me Hook You Up podcast. Yeah. And if you're ever wondering why Let Me Hook You Up, there's a thought behind it. The beginning, when I started the Your Neighborhood Psych, Instagram and this whole thing, the idea was to help people in my community understand mental health a little bit more. And also, there's so many things about mental health that I find that most people may not be aware of or do not know of such resources. So the idea was to hook people up with all of these tips from somebody that you grew up with, somebody that looks like you, somebody you can relate to, somebody in your hood, right? So that's the whole idea um, for that. And I started this podcast, of course, because of Instagram videos too short, YouTube videos too scripted, and they need to almost be too edited and stuff like that. So this podcast format just feels like a nice middle ground where I get to share with you my raw thoughts. Not a whole lot of editing is going to be in there, so you're going to get a lot more of my ums and likes and all rights. And I hope that's all right with you. So join me on this journey and let's talk mental health and let's help each other, feel better and contribute more in our day-to-day lives with our friends and family and the people around us. Yeah, let's go. So today we're going to be talking about mental health. What is mental health? We'll talk about mental health stigma. We'll talk about what we can do about it briefly, and then we will jump in and answer, some frequently asked questions about mental health therapy. Some of a little bit of a mental health 101 kind of feel to today's episode. In subsequent episodes, we can take, topic by topic and go into a little bit more detail. Of course, we'll talk about ADHD sometime soon, go into a little bit more detail. We'll talk about anxiety, go into a lot more detail, depression, borderline personality disorder, you name it. We'll talk about it eventually. Yeah, so subscribe, make sure you stay with me. Today's episode is brought to you by Atcon and Co. If you need any home improvement work done, reach out to them. I will have their link, their Instagram link and their contact information in the description. Reach out to them. If you're in the Columbus, Ohio, and Dayton area, they got you. Yeah. Okay. So, what is mental health? You know, according to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being where people can reach their full potential, can contribute to their society, and can manage their day-to-day stresses. So, anything that gets in your way of doing that is a mental health issue. So when you think about mental health, I hope you're not thinking about, schizophrenia only or, somebody going through very deep depression only. Like we said, anything that gets in your way of managing your day-to-day life, contributing to your society, it's a mental health issue. Is it stress? Is it grief? Is it, the difficulties of parenting? I know about all of that, right? They're all mental health issues that with the right resources, you can then do better with them. So if mental health is this way, in a way that I guess everybody could benefit from mental health resources, why is everybody not jumping at mental health resources? That's what brings us into mental health stigma, right? So mental health stigma, it's been years and years and years in the making. Think about the first part, I guess, to think about is something called institutional stigma. So think about a community that has decides that everybody who's mentally ill, we're going to put them at the outskirts of the town. You're not going to join the rest of us. All of you, we're going to house you in an asylum here, and you better not come anywhere close to us. So the institutions or the government or people, policymakers, make this decision that tends to stigmatize this group of people. And so everybody in the community, the public, because they don't want to be treated that way, also make sure that, hey, if there's anybody in our midst that exhibits any behaviors that look like those people, we're going to point them out and send them that way because we don't want any of those people among us, right? And of course, if somebody in the public is feeling that way, they don't want anybody to know because I don't want to be treated like those people are the outskirts of town. And that is the self stigma, right? So we've just talked about three main types of mental health stigma: institutional stigma, public stigma, and then self stigma. Historically, mental health stigma has been institutional, and then, of course, the public picked on. But these days, I find that the self stigma dominates a whole lot more, because institutions are doing slightly better. The public is doing a little bit better. I mean, we're doing this show, right? So the public is talking more about mental health. So many people are speaking about it and encouraging people to take better care of themselves and reach out for mental health resources. So the public is doing better. But for many of us, the stigma that we have internalized and believed is almost impossible. We're struggling so much to lose it. So that's why you hear things like, if I go to therapy, people will think I'm weak, even though maybe nobody has said anything directly to them. It's because we've heard some of the things that people say around us. So we've internalized it. So if you're listening to me today, please, hopefully some of this work that we're doing will contribute to you gradually unlearning some of those things and letting the self stigma go so you can do things that would actually help you do better and take care of yourself, take care of your mental health. If you have any questions around mental health stigma, the different kinds of mental health stigma or mental health generally, like we have already talked about, write it in the comment section and I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. Yeah. When we come back, we'll talk about frequently asked questions about mental health. Hang in there. I'll talk to you soon. Welcome back, friends. So, like I mentioned, we're going to do some frequently asked questions about mental health. The first one here is, do I need therapy if I have friends I can talk to? So, the way I'm going to answer this is, first off, not everyone needs therapy. Everyone could benefit from therapy, but not everyone needs therapy. So, we're not saying that if you're dealing with anything whatsoever, go to therapy, right? So, not everyone needs therapy, but everyone needs a village. It's just not feasible to try to handle it. And it's not, to be honest, it's not necessary to try to do it all by yourself. So yeah, if you have friends that can help you out with what you're dealing with, by all means, you don't need to go to therapy. The tricky thing though is oftentimes we minimize or we underestimate what we're dealing with and we think friends can help us with it, right? And then we realize you talk to your friends and then you realize, well, they probably can't because they say all the wrong things or they say what you don't want to hear, or it's such a heavy thing that now it's a burden on them and they're not professionally trained, so they can't handle it. And now it's a whole mess, So the if you do have supportive friends, by all means, use them because we encourage you to have a community, to have social resources. But ultimately, it does not hurt in any way to consult with a professional, And if you find that you're dealing with something, whether it be depression, anxiety, or your stress is overwhelming, and you want to explore, therapy, or you want to explore services, I feel most people at least have a primary care physician. So you can start there. Start with your doctor. Hey, doctor, this and this and this is what I'm dealing with. What can you help me out with? Is there any resources or anybody you can refer me to? And they can help you get you connected to a therapist. They can help you get connected. If it's something that maybe it's a sleep issue, they can help you with some strategies that can help you improve your sleep, you name it. So, long story short, not everyone needs therapy. Everyone could benefit from therapy, but your friends are not your therapists. Yeah. Okay. So the next one here is, why are so many people being diagnosed with mental health issues these days? Right. And well, in a way, many people are being diagnosed with it because, and that's what we've been trying to do for a long time anyway. Conversations around mental health are more out there. And so many people are seeking service. More people are seeking services. And then if they seek services and they do have something, then they get diagnosed with it, right? So many people are being diagnosed with mental health issues, not because many people are getting mental health issues, but it's because many people who have them are seeking services. So for example, if you compare it to 10 years ago when You would meet 10 people and maybe one of them is maybe one of them has generalized anxiety disorder or depression diagnosed. It's not to say that the other people definitely don't. More likely, they haven't seen a professional to even talk about it. Because the research says one out of every five, does deal with some mental health issue. So it's not so much that more people are, getting mental health issues as it is that more people are seeking services. And so more people are being diagnosed. And also I think more people are not hiding their diagnosis. So you're hearing about them. So for example, if you know me, you probably didn't think you know someone who's been diagnosed with mental health issue, but I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2018. So the fact that I'm telling you today does not mean one more person has been diagnosed with ADHD. You're just learning about it today. Yeah. This next one is more of a fear that people have. That if I get diagnosed with something, it will follow me for the rest of my life. And the simple answer to that is that it's not true, that it's not going to follow you for the rest of your life. So technically, many mental health disorders are based off of how what symptoms you're reporting today. So if today we interview you and you meet criteria for generalized anxiety disorder, we diagnose you with generalized anxiety disorder so we can treat you. If 6 months from now you no longer meet criteria for generalized anxiety disorder, you don't have generalized anxiety disorder. So anxiety did not follow you. Also, this is your private health information. So you choose who you tell. You can decide to tell absolutely nobody. So please, I'm hoping that this doesn't get in the way of you reaching out to seek support because you're worried that the diagnosis will follow you the rest of your life if in fact you do have something. So please reach out, seek help. If you're dealing with something, talk to somebody. So finally, I'd like to end this episode with some, you know, baseline things to help you improve your mental health. I honestly do think apart from serious mental illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, severe and moderate, many times the day-to-day mental health related things we deal with, stress, sleep issues, mild anxiety, mild depression, many of them can be managed by staying in tune with our body and doing what our body needs. Sleep, eat well, stay physically active. Like if you most likely have seen a video on my page speaking of them as the mental health non-negotiables. You do these things and you would most likely, you know, manage a lot of the day-to-day stresses just fine. Going back to the fact that not everyone needs therapy, but everyone could benefit from a program like this that speaks to the basic things that you can do to help you out. And then also a way to assess when you need more. So please subscribe, stay tuned, ask any questions that you have so that I would, the next episode would maybe go into your questions into a little bit more detail. This is the intro, and so I like to keep it short and sweet. As we go ahead, it might be longer, especially if I have guests with me. I appreciate you spending time with me today. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.